Hi, my name is Zoe and I am the founder of Ériu, which is a company, an Irish company where we're reclaiming ancient traditions of working with wool. So at the moment, at this time, we're celebrating a really important Celtic festival called Bealtine. And this festival is actually really important for Ériu because it's celebrated at a time where it's a fire festival, and fires are lit to celebrate the coming of summer, celebrating the light arriving. And this festival is also associated with Ériu because it was at this time that she climbed one of the highest hills in Ireland called Uisneach, which is in the very centre of Ireland, in the belly button midpoint of the land. And when Ireland was being invaded, she climbed this hill along with her sisters who climbed other places, and they faced the invaders. And it was at this place where Ériu negotiated with them and achieved that the land would bear her name always. So after they invaded the land, herself and the tribe of Danu, which was the tribe that she was part of, they then took the other world. They receded into the hills and the invaders took the land. And she negotiated with their druid that the land would be called Erin, after Ériu, her name, which is now modern day Ireland. So it's a very significant time of year, and always, you know, what they were doing, these, you know, ancient enlightened civilizations, they were working through ritual, they were working with festivals, working with the land to bring healing through ceremony. And this was healing for themselves, for their community, and for the land herself. So, you know, it's very significant that Ériu's story is about remembering her name. I feel that now we're at a time where, you know, she is asking us to remember, along with the other sovereignty goddesses that she worked with. She is asking us to remember these ancient traditions, because they were important, they were significant, and they're relevant to us today. So, you know, Ireland has carried her name, and remember that. And now I feel like she's asking for us to remember more, because we all have these ancient codes in our DNA, in our remembrance. So she was coming to talk to me about the Bealtine festival specifically, especially herself and the Morrigan, and telling me about it and the significance of it, and how it's relevant to us right now. So so it's celebrated today. Actually, it's actually, there's going to be a big festival at this hill in Uisneach, which there is every year, a huge big fire festival where they light a fire in remembrance of how this ceremony always took place, where they would light a fire. All fires would extinguish in the whole land of Ireland, and they would light a fire at this central hill, and that huge fire would then signify, once that fire was lit, other fires were lit around the land from other hilltops, and it was actually designed in a spiral, so the fire would create this big spiral across the whole island. And then people would have their ceremonies at all these different big fire points, and they would then take an ember of that fire home to their own hearth in their house, in their little home, and continue on what the promise of that festival. So the festival of Bealtine, which means in Irish mouth of fire, it was an opportunity to release anything that no longer served, to dissolve it into the fire, to transmute it into the fire, and to then bring blessing, to bring intention, to bring prayer to the cycle ahead. So often this would signify through they would do this in union with their animals that they were keeping. So often the animals would be you know, would have, you know, they could have parasites or fleas or ticks or whatever it was coming into the spring. And as part of the festival, the people would drive their animals, their herds, through 2 huge fires, and this would be to drive off any parasites. So the Morrigan was bringing to my attention the significance of that action, because she's always showing me how these rituals were and are mirroring, you know, always they use the analogy of the fields or the land in reference to our field, our energy field, our land being our body and our consciousness. And that's why this portal is such a great opportunity to utilize these rituals to do the same. So the whole thing with animals really struck me, because I'm even noticing that at our farm, where we my partner has his farm, and that's where we have our sheep, which we use for the business. Even noticing this time of year that their coats, you know, which are really important to us, you know, that they need a clearing, they need a new blessing for what's to come forward, because the season ahead is really important to us for shearing, for using the wool. But so like what I love is like this ritual is really you know, it's an inner and an outer, it's a physical and a spiritual festival. So we're doing a little ceremony around that, and we'll do a ceremony at the farm as well with the animals to bring in blessings for our season ahead and our cycle. But we're also looking within and seeing what, for me, the Morrigan was showing me that like this whole notion of, you know, looking at your herd, looking and seeing where this parasitic consciousness, parasites, fleas, whatever it is, negative attachments are on your animals, on your field. And the Morrigan for me is, she's always a warning system. So she's always reminding me that we're always getting messages. We're always being warned when we need to pay attention to something. We're usually alerted through our body if we're listening to our body. If we're not listening to our body, we're alerted as well as through nature, through animals, especially when you have a connection to your own animals, your pets, or animals on your land, or just in nature. And she really encourages us to listen, you know, because we can heed these warning systems when there's something wrong. Say there's some negative pattern coming into our life, or that is eating away at us like a parasite, or, you know, this whole idea of this parasitic consciousness, which she's really bringing to me, because that's what it is. Many of these negative agendas, negative belief systems, toxic relationships, toxic patterns in our life. We have to take stock of these every so often and see where we're falling into that, or where we've given permission for something in our life to get in, or some codependent decision in a relationship where there's now this, you know, pattern in place that's eating away at our energy fields, essentially. So it's really time to kind of take stock, examine that, and see where we've been getting these messages. Because, you know, she tells me very clearly, she's very strong, you know, and she's associated with war and strategy, and she's often called a war goddess, which you know, for me just signifies, you know, she's you know, she's really deeply you know, for love of the planet, for love of humanity, for love of our evolution. And often in these times especially, we need to go to war with something, or we need to have a strategy, or we need to get real with the forces that would be parasites on our energy field, which essentially stop us from being in the fullness of ourselves. They eat away at our essence, at our energy, drain our life force, or or, you know, they essentially take away from our soul gifts that we're here to bring to the world. So she's really, you know, about bringing to our attention, honing, you know, what we're allowing to into our lives. And she's like, very strongly says to me, like, when we do this, we're dishonoring ourselves. You know, it's such a strong word, but it's true. Like, where we're giving permission to, say, a toxic pattern, and we're not taking stock of that, and we're allowing it to happen, and it's slowly eating away at us, eating away at like our energy to do something positive, or bring something positive that we're supposed to be bringing forward. Essentially, we're dishonoring ourselves. You know, so I'm, you know, she's really reminding me that Bealtine is an opportunity to do this. And sometimes the signs are very obvious. She was reminding me that my cat, he's always, you know, like, cats are very energetic protectors. They reflect, like, you know, what's going on. And at different times in my life when I'm in a space where I have a lot coming in on top of me. I've had that in the past, where essentially I'm growing through something and I need to remove some toxic situations or patterns. And it you know, and because I haven't done that, it's coming in on top of me. It's draining me. It's draining my energy field, my life force, you know, and I am giving permission to this, consciously or unconsciously, and it's my work to see where I am doing that. But my cat always reflects this to me, because his coat, he loses the hair on his coat, like, in quite dramatic patches. Like, when I've been in a few particularly bad situations, it's had to be that bad, where I'm looking at him going, oh my God, my poor cat is got no hair, got these patches on his back, where he's really, like, what he's trying to do is hold off what's encroaching on my energy field, or in our space. He's reflecting that to me in a painful way of what's really going on in my energy field. So I feel like that's so relevant to this idea at Bealtine of taking stock, looking at your animals, your energy field, and seeing what we have permitted in that needs to go, and then, you know, doing a ceremony around that and removing it, because, you know, she reminds me that the whole symbolism of fire is, you know, while yes, that's a physical thing to drive your animals through the fire and burn off this thing, on an inner level, that's our inner fire, our inner divine will to honor ourselves by no longer giving permission for toxic patterns, toxic relationships, no longer giving permission for parasites, essentially, to feed off our energy field, the parasitic situations. And it can be so subtle, you know, that's the problem. We don't always see it, because these behaviors can creep in so insidiously, through, you know, codependent decisions or slight decisions, where you think, oh, well, it's okay, I'll just, you know, that's okay, they mean their best, or making excuses for something in our lives that is actually doing us harm or taking away from us. Because you know, every time we override our own warning system through, you know, our body, or our animals reflecting it, or nature reflecting us, we're always given a warning sign. Every time we override this in ourselves, then we are dishonoring our own soul's gift. So, you know, she really, you know, the Morrigan really guides me to, you know, to take stock and see this. She's also a very good guide when you work with her. She really brings stuff to you that often you can't ignore. Even I've tried to ignore her sometimes. I remember recently there was a situation where she was, well, in the form of crow. She's a shapeshifter, and she often works with the crow. There was this crow coming to this situation that I needed to look at. and she would, this crow was literally attacking attacking its own image in the window, and it was doing this repeatedly, week on week, day after day, and it was getting like gory, it was getting bloody. She was like doing it, and I was witness to this. It wasn't my home, but I was like, oh my God, that's such a strong messaging for the Morrigan. Even though I was aware of it, I didn't actually cop on to the message until now, like over a year or so later. I look back and I go, oh my God, that was such an obvious message, but I didn't see it. Maybe I wasn't willing fully to really look, and I knew it was a warning sign, but I wasn't probably really willing to see, because I probably wasn't really willing to change something at that point. So instead, I suffered because of that delay. Sometimes when we're not willing to see these things, they have to get so bad in our life, then we have to suffer. So the Morrigan really comes in at a time when she's warning you to help you deal with something, so it doesn't get worse, so it doesn't take that much away, so you don't have to go through an extended period of suffering. And she encourages us to work with these cycles. It's working with these cycles, these times of poignant times of the seasons are working with the earth, are so powerful, because we have so much assistance with us to shed these patterns if we're willing to be honest with ourselves and look at them. She always talks about raising things, setting fire to things but that they need to be looked at. You need to know what you're setting fire to. Yeah, just, ways that, that she, where, she welcomes us to, invite her into our lives to see these patterns, but reminds us also that it's, it's our own, we all have this ability to witness what's mirroring in our lives, because that's our consciousness mirroring, whether it was my cat mirroring it back to me, or her in the form of a crow mirroring it back to me. It was my consciousness, my higher self, essentially guiding that. And if we just can come more present to that, then we have that opportunity for more rapid transformation than waiting until it's so painful. So, yeah, in the spirit of that, I was going to just, let us take a minute. Yeah, that was the other thing I wanted to say. She was saying to me as well, like, even though, like, that example with the crow, like, she was giving me such an obvious sign, sometimes we're not willing to, or able, or capable of seeing the pattern, because it feels so, it feels so comfortable to us. It feels, it can feel, an unhealthy pattern can feel okay because it's comfortable, because we've been doing it forever. Like, it's codependency can feel comfortable, and just because it's familiar, but it's not necessarily healthy. So at this portal, I'm definitely, burning up this pattern that I realized was this very subtle layer that was really taking so much away from me, but I just didn't notice it because it had been going on for ages. And to stop it requires a simple decision and a shift in a relationship of saying what I need in order to not have this thing take away from my life. But then then it's actually, you think you're in this, you think the unhealthy pattern is comfortable, but it's not comfortable. It's just that you've gotten used to that feeling of discomfort, and toxicity. So sometimes it's only until we're really drained that we notice these things. So yeah. So at Bealtine now, this is an opportunity for us to do that. So it's going to let us take a minute to take a deep breath and just ground ourselves. And as always, the sovereignty goddesses remind us that we are sovereign. We have our own direct connection to source. We have our own direct connection to the earth. So they always just do pull me into this remembrance by that simple grounding of taking a few breaths and receiving direct light from source consciousness in down through the top of our crown to our third eye. I receive this as golden white light, especially with a fiery color today. Our third eye, through our chakra, our throat chakra, our heart, our solar plexus, our sacral chakra, our root, connecting down now into the earth. Feeling our direct connection to source, our direct connection to the earth, and allowing our body to form into a chalice where we're in this completely receptive state of this abundant amount of light, and then this light forms like a dragon egg of protection around us. So she invites us now, the Morrigan and Ériu are with us for this meditation, and the Morrigan invites us to become like her in her crow form, where we can just take a bird's eye view and just zooming out to sit up on a perch where we can look down at our body. She's inviting us to look at any area in our life which is being affected by this parasitic consciousness. Where is there any relationship or aspect of a relationship or a relationship with yourself, doesn't have to be with someone else, where we are in a pattern of behavior that is taking away, it's feeding off us essentially. You can take a minute to do this, or you can pause this to journal on it even. There's a guide to know this is whenever are we in a situation where our body doesn't feel good after this pattern or during this pattern. So our body is our number one ally for noticing this consciousness. It could be a relationship with food or any substance which, how do you feel after it? If you feel bad, if you feel drained, if you feel crap, maybe that's the thing that's eating away at you. Could be a place in your life where you said yes when it should have been a no. To someone or something. So she invites us now to take whatever it is. And to fly with her now, we're flying to the hill of Ishnok, which is where there's this huge fire. And there's huge celebratory energy because there's community, there's animals, there's children, there's sense of celebration. Everybody's in the same boat. Everybody has stuff that they need to burn off so that they can set the way for a blessed new cycle, an abundant new harvest ahead. She invites us, as a shapeshifter, she invites us down, to fly down to an area where there are cattle. She's known to shapeshift into a cow before. So you can now go down with her and land with this herd that are running. And they're being driven, they're being guided to drive, being driven in between two huge fires. And you can just land with them, you can travel with them there, you can feel their hooves galloping, you can feel their hearts thumping, you can feel the people who are driving them, the farmer, the owner of the cattle, driving them through as much as they want to receive this blessing. They're approaching the fire. You can feel the heat and the sweat and the energy and all of the crap come to the surface. And take these, whatever you identified as your toxic, parasitic piece that you need to burn, just to invite it now to be with you. And as we go through the fire, we just travel through that portal of fire and just feel this huge relief, because fire is that amazing. It can just instantaneously dissolve and burn away if we're willing to be brave enough to take the thing and to be honest with that thing that needs to be burned away and to take it out and up for healing. So we just now allow our consciousness to feel that lightness of the dissolution. The animals are dispersed and your consciousness travels back now into the bird, into the crow, and the Morrigan takes you safely back into your body where you were grounded. Your feet are in the earth, in your direct connection to source. You're completely surrounded by the protection and light of your own direct connection to source. When you're ready, you can open your eyes and be willing to celebrate that you are dissolving this toxic pattern, this toxic parasitic consciousness pattern or item, whatever, relationship, whatever it is that you have given permission to, that we all do, but creeps in so insidiously all the time into our lives. And that's why these portals are huge opportunities to burn away what doesn't serve us any longer. So I hope that was helpful, and I feel that Ériu and the Morrigan are really inviting us to bring these ancient ceremonies, these ancient rituals back into our lives, and to connect with the land when we're doing them. Light a candle, go outside, do that meditation, or in your own form and with your own guidance, and light a candle, make a fire, and do a ritual around this, because it's a great opportunity. And wishing everybody a happy Bealtine.